there you go. So, yep, I'll be there tomorrow, by the way. Or at least I plan to be if I get up. So, and I get everything done and I get all the bloody pollen off my car. It was in the garage.
Yeah, I haven't used my snow shovel since I moved here, but I could have made use of it this morning. Incredible.
Well, I do all the pollen off every day. And not only is my car covered, but it has an open engine bay at the back. I put the groceries in the back yesterday. The trunk is by the engine. And the engine and the engine bay are full of bloody pollen. It was in the garage. I mean, it's not like I parked it out anyway. So I have to clean that before I can show up with a disgusting car. But we'll see.
Well, I am going to show up with a disgusting car, and I've decided I don't care.
Oh, there you go. Well, I can't give Mark a reason to tease me. He told me I had to park it in Alabama and walk.
You guys are amazing.
Yep, there you go. All right, how are we doing?
Well, wonder where.
We're doing.
Apparently we've scared some folks off.
That looks like it, doesn't it? All right, what's on our
Susan Kellerman's at the beach, and she says she probably will not be joining.
Aha. It looks like Bill's at the beach again.
Oh,
Oh,
Back.
oh.
now I'm on the patio here, and
Oh, okay. All right.
Some great looking T-shirts here this morning. Graham and Bill.
Death Star.
and this is Harry. This is Harry Perry, who is a street performer on the Venice Beach Walkway in Venice Beach, California. I learned of him in 1974 on a show called Real People. And I've been out there dozens of times since, and he's still out there. But the last time I went out was 2013. We had a student from Russia living with us. So I told him, you have to go see another part of the country. And I took him out there, and Harry Perry is still out there.
I didn't realize they'd let you into California, Bill.
Oh, I love California. We're be out there middle of September for a week out in the San Francisco area. Half Moon Bay, go up to Shelter Cove.
That'll be a good trip.
Great place to visit. Couldn't afford to live there.
There you go. All right.
Didn't want to.
Oh, no, you're missing a treat. You're missing a treat. It's fun. Okay, I think we have. Bill's going to talk about the in-person get-together.
As we've been talking on here, I was going to mention about the little thing tomorrow, but what we want to do is discuss about maybe trying to get together as a group, because what we've done is we've set up for next Tuesday, which is normally a steering committee meeting, but we are going to do a post-processing workshop. Graham's going to accept some photographs from people who'd like to see how maybe someone might look at it, what their approach is to post-processing, and doing it on the fly while we're all on Zoom together. So that's going to be on April 20th.
So, Bill, I have a question about that. A couple of people have said they don't know what time. So
that's 11 o'clock. Yeah.
We're using the regular slot, aren't we?
Yes.
But are you going to put another calling notice out asking for a couple of things?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll put that in the meeting notes for that I'll send out later today.
Cool.
Now, what are we going to do with the 3 shots that you sent out, Graham?
That's for a different one, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what we decided.
That was going to be where we have this Zoom meeting on the 20th. We go through the post-processing, then we're going to send out those photographs that you sent to the steering committee to everyone to see what they would do with it in post-processing. And that would be our challenge for the 27th.
Right. Oh, for the 27th. Okay, thank you. Right, got it. Ah,
So for the 20th, we send you a couple of pictures, a picture maybe that we would like to have you work on, something like that.
I guess.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah, and I'll pick some because we're not going to be in a position to do lots and lots and lots. Now you've messed me up, Bill, because I was going to use that 3 set to demonstrate something else. I'll find another picture that'll do the same job. Part of it, I'm going to simultaneously process. Part of this next Tuesday will be I will simultaneously process a DNG, i.e. a RAW, a TIFF and a JPEG, because I go on about the artifacting that you get with different levels. And so I did some playing with that this week. I have one surprise result that is a bit I haven't got to the bottom of yet, but we'll take a look at that. It was even more dramatic than I expected it to be, but not for the TIFF. The TIFF did not give me the result I expected, but we'll talk about that next week.
good.
So, and I am going to talk about philosophy as well, not just do pictures, but I'm going to talk about philosophy and my thinking about how I approach an image and what I want to think about in terms of achievement and processing. So I think it'll be the aim is for it to be an interactive session. So hopefully a few of you will make it.
And when we're also trying to get maybe a group together sometime just to finally see each other again or meet each other for the first time, in an outdoor setting, maybe in Farrington. There's an area there where it's called a Roost. It's the beer garden. I was just there before and like nobody's there. So there's plenty of room where, we can spread out, we can continue our social distancing and just get together, get to meet each other, maybe break off into different groups if we want, because from the Roost, you can walk to the Camden Park, down to the Creekwood Trail. You could walk to the gardens and back of the inn. So, it's kind of centrally located. And then the decision would be if you want to do it on maybe, my thoughts was either a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Tuesday, Farrington Village is shut down, so there's not a lot of people around. But if we do it in the afternoon, and if anybody's interested in either photographing or buying stuff at a farmer's market, Tuesday at 4 o'clock, the farmer's market starts. If that's not a big deal, then we go to Wednesday. The village is open, so if you want to stop for coffee and a snack or something, you can do that. And just kind of have a couple hours where we're back together again somewhat. And the big question is how would it affect if we decided to do it next Tuesday, since we're having Graham's workshop Tuesday morning? Maybe that would hurt attendance in the afternoon. Should we make it the next Wednesday or should we do it a week later? So we just want to leave it up to a little discussion here, because we certainly want to make sure we get the best number of people to show up. What do you think?
Split them up by a week. This would be my vote. I don't know why exactly, but
I think the weather is going to really determine
oh yeah.
who, we might want to set a first date and then a rain date.
Yes, I was going to suggest.
April showers and all that coming.
Would it be better
So
Wednesday versus a Tuesday if we have a meeting? Is it better to break it up?
Wednesday afternoon, you mean, as opposed to Tuesday? Is that what
Yeah.
you're, or Wednesday morning, or I don't know.
The Monday again, the village is closed up, so we would have the Roost area surely to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We could do Monday as a main date and Tuesday is a rain day, or
And everybody can just bring their own, drinks or whatever.
Yep.
I think.
Well, I think going a week after next, which would be the week of starting Monday, the 26th would be good. If we do it on Tuesday, the 27th, we've got a regular
Yeah.
group meeting at 11.
Mhm.
And if we waited a week and went to another steering committee meeting, that would cause us, the steering committee, to miss 2 meetings in a row, meaning the 20th for Graham and then a group meeting on the whatever Wednesday is after the 27th.
Well, what about the 19th with 21 first being the backup?
Or the 26th, either. I'll go for either. I'm gonna be there, I hope.
I want to be there.
I'll be there.
If we,
Right? We're here, right? So,
So what if, since we're doing a Wednesday morning thing after today's meeting, what if we get some sort of a rhythm going and we do it on the 28th, which would be the Wednesday after our meeting? Would that make sense? Then people could count on a certain day every time? I don't know.
What else is on a Wednesday?
Nothing, but tomorrow is Wednesday, right? We're gonna do the out at the dam. So I just thought
Oh,
if we did it
Yeah.
2 weeks
I
from
like that.
then,
That's a good idea.
I like that, yeah.
it is good. Okay.
so do the 28th.
Mhm.
How does that sound?
And that would give us another opportunity at a regular meeting to publicize it.
Right.
28th,
Hey, yep, sounds good to me.
morning, afternoon,
Good morning.
you want like 11 a.m.? Just
Yep.
because we're so used to 11 a.m.
11 a.m. is a terrible time
And
for photography.
Bill, yeah, it's not a good time for shooting really, but I mean, there's lots of shade there, so it's not like it's
Is it?
bright sunlight. But and what days are the farmers market? Is it Tuesday and Wednesday?
Just
No,
do-
just Tuesday.
Okay. Wednesday, the 28th is good.
Why don't we do it a little earlier, like 9 or 10 or something?
Mhm. Yeah,
It is warming up pretty quick, so, but it'd be easier for me to do a 10 o'clock, but whatever.
Yeah.
I apologize. I just joined. I don't know what you're talking about. Could you tell me, please?
No, sorry, Leslie. It's a
No.
secret.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just get off now then.
Hello.
We're talking about physical get-togethers, should
Oh,
we
great.
meetings and where and when, and so please chip in.
We're
It's
thinking about.
going to be called InFocus in person.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I can handle it. What's been proposed so far?
The 28th,
Of
Where?
April.
Farrington at the Roost area in the down center village part.
Well,
These
I
all-
would definitely vote for earlier rather than later. I think 9 or 10 is better than anything else. Even earlier. I mean, it just gets too
10
hot.
o'clock. 10 o'clock.
o'clock?
Not sunrise.
Okay.
I don't do sunrise.
I tell you what, we'll pull an all-nighter and then we'll be there and
There you
then
go.
we don't have to worry about getting up, right?
Oh, okay.
We could do astrophotography during the nighttime hour and then just stay for the sun.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
So,
20
So long since people have gotten together, we have to cram it all in at once, right?
yeah.
So is that a decision, 27th?
28th?
28th
28th. I
at
said it wrong, I think.
28th at
10.
a.m.
Roost.
10. Okay, at the Roost.
Do we want, in case it's raining, do we want to have a rain date the following day, same time, same place?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
And,
Sounds good to
and
me.
Makes sense to me.
those of you that live over there or are more familiar than I, where are we meeting? Did I hear
Oh,
the
thank you for
roost?
asking that.
Yeah, it's
So
very
it's at the
close
village,
to the canopy where we,
Yeah, by the Belted Goat.
yeah,
Across from there.
yeah, the Belted Goat, the actual restaurant itself. If you go across the street, not where the canopy is, but where the other businesses is, the roost is right there. Oh.
Where is it relative to McIntyre's?
Across.
Right,
right across the street,
right across the street.
across the parking
Okay.
lot.
Oh, yeah, okay, I got it.
Next to the Dovecote and the Nest.
It's a gravel area with lots of black wrought iron chairs and tables.
Well, it's
You
it's
won't
not
miss-
that, yeah, it's not that big of an area. I mean, if people see us walking around with cameras, maybe they'll just sort of point us in the right direction. I mean, people from the group will see us.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, the stores are the Dovecote and then the Nest. And then it's right near that.
I'm there.
It's right by the SunTrust Bank. So-
Yeah. Around the, yeah, the corner.
Hey,
Who's going
Do they
tomorrow? I
have-
mean, is the thing on for tomorrow still?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Is
still a
anybody
thing.
going?
yep.
How many people are going?
I don't know.
I'm going.
3.
Graham, Betty.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to,
I plan to. Let's put
sorry,
it.
I come in late and I ask all the questions.
Yeah, you're a troublemaker, you, aren't you?
I am.
Are you coming, Leslie?
Yes, I raised my hand. Sorry, yes.
What time are you coming? What time?
I'm going to try to get there as early as I can. You know, my sleeping patterns are pretty irregular, so we'll just have to wait and see. But Helen and I had talked about driving together. If anybody else wants to join in from Fearington or carpool or, you know, follow each other, maybe there's a time we could meet and then go from there.
I was
And-
thinking about getting there at 8. And it ought to take about 20 to 25 minutes from Farrington, I think.
Yeah. about-
Well, why don't we say, let's see, 8. So if we met at McIntyre's at 7:30, right? Or 7:15, then people could either carpool or follow each other, right? If anybody wants to show up
Yeah,
there. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah,
sounds good.
Okay, Helen, I'll meet you there in front of McIntyre's at 7:30 tomorrow morning, okay?
7:30, yeah, 7:30.
If anybody else wants to join us, you're more than welcome.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Good. Anything else for this segment or shall we look at?
I hate to do this, but could we go through all of the dates that we have something for through April?
Well, the 20th next week is the workshop at 11. And Bill's going to send out notices, aren't you, Bill?
Okay.
I don't think I have email for Tom.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'll get it. I'm good.
Okay.
The 20th for Graham,
The 28th.
the 27th is the
Meeting.
next.
8th. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry.
27th.
Yep,
27th is the next
Yep.
video meeting for everybody. And then the 28th is the get together at
Right.
the Roost.
And the 29th is the rain date for that.
Right,
And what's
Yep.
what's the challenge for the 27th?
It's going to be the
know?
three photographs that Graham distributes.
Oh, right.
No, I
Okay.
haven't.
Okay.
No, they've only gone to the steering group right now, Mike. They haven't been distributed yet.
yeah, they have.
No, but that
Oh,
will be
okay.
distributed. That will be distributed.
I'm sorry, I don't know about that. What
Graham's
do you-
going to distribute 3 photos, a JPEG. Well, they're the same 3 photos, but one's a JPEG, one's a TIFF, and one's a RAW file.
Mhm.
And the challenge is for us each to use whatever processing we wish to use
Oh, cool.
to show what we can do with it, and then talk about what we did.
Oh,
That's
that'll
the
be
challenge
helpful.
for the 27th.
Good.
So Graham's going to set you up to do that on the
Oh, yeah.
20th for the
What?
meeting on the 27th.
And we didn't mention the exam for the post-processing. Okay, let's look at some pictures, huh? Good.
Sure.
Silence as acquiescence. Let's see, what have we got here? Ah, there we go. All right. Are you guys seeing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Somebody has a neat house.
Yeah.
Well, that little
Yeah, that's
might be.
That's you, Bill.
Yeah, that's me.
Cool.
Now, since the challenge was tripod, what I did is I set this up, and knowing that with our cameras as they are today using matrix metering, that if I took a picture that made the inside of the house look correct, that the windows back there would probably just be pure white. So what I did is I set up the tripod and I put a camera on top of it. And what I did
That was
was,
a good idea.
yeah.
Helpful.
And what I did was,
creative. Yeah.
but what I did, I set the camera up to take 9 photographs, 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops, 4 stops overexposed, and then 4 underexposed. And what I did then is put them into the post-processing and brought them together for exposure blending. And by using all 9, it was pretty good. But what I started to try to do is I looked at the 9 photographs that the camera took, and I decided to trick the system by just giving it 3 photographs. So I took one that was 3 stops overexposed, and I took 2 that were 1 and 2 stops underexposed, and I blended those. And I felt that that combination, I got a better window, meaning being able to see the actual trees out of our windows there. Where when I did them all, or if I used the pictures that were 4 stops underexposed, the trees almost didn't look real. So I just had to kind of play around with them a little bit. And what I made sure too is that I have my little snowman back there in jail.
Right.
And if you look really close to it, laying it down in front of it is that creepy looking Santa Claus that I had during one of our challenges. And
I think you should send this to Mark and say, hey, Mark, look how level this is.
So,
Well, you know, I have proselytized for HDR
Yep.
and the little program Photomatics, and it makes simple doing this sort of thing. And talk about blending, etc. I don't know how to do that on any Photoshop program, but I do know how to use Photomatics, and this is a good example of that.
yeah, this was used in Elements.
Right.
So,
And see, Elements didn't used to have a blending mode, and it may be that I don't need Photomatics anymore, but I started using Photomatics before there was such a thing in the lower end Photoshop programs.
Right. And me too, and I have a lifetime subscription to it, but I've discovered that it's usually out of date. I use it so rarely nowadays, because even Lightroom will do HDR merging if you want, those of you who are using Lightroom. But I think this is a great example, Bill. I think it's well executed. It shows exactly what you can do. The other thing I would like to add to Mike's comment about photomatics is it's a great thing to play with different techniques. They give you many, many different options in there, and you can play with them, and you can get some pretty realistic or some pretty dramatic renditions. So, but I don't remember it being a cheap tool. I bought it a long time ago, but I think it's reasonably pricey.
It's $50. It's
Oh, is that
$50.
what it is? Oh, I thought I paid a lot more than that. Never mind.
Well,
Okay.
it's Photomatics Pro, and I you know, I don't know, it doesn't update a lot, but a lot of the updates are free, I think.
Right. Good
So,
job, Bill.
Bill, when you said that the trees out there almost didn't look real, what did you mean by that?
Well, some of it was, from, it may have picked up from like the 4-stop underexposed.
Version?
Yeah, and it looked like it was fake. And I'm not one to do a lot of fine tuning when I do my post-processing. It's either got to look good and I'll do a couple little things with it and then I move on. There may be things that I could have done to improve it, but
Well, and let me add, Bill, that when I first see this, I'm looking at the trees and wondering if there ought to be more detail in them. And I would go the same way you did with this, because if you really get the overexposed or underexposed, I guess would be the case, the underexposure of those trees, those cease to look like windows. They start looking like paintings on the wall.
Painting, yeah.
And you really want it to look like outside. And if you put too much detail in the outside, it ceases to look that way. So I think this is a good decision to not put too much out there.
yeah.
Mhm.
Good job. Nicely said.
I still like my snowman with the satanic thing going on back there.
You have a secret thing with this snowman, don't you? All right, let's see what else we got.
Yeah, that's why it's in jail. Hey, I want to add one more thing and not slow us down too much, but you don't even need to go back, Graham.
Okay.
But one of the things that pops up in a lot of our photographs is the color red. And one of the things that will happen with a lot of digital photographs is that red is oversaturated.
Mhm.
It just gets to be too much, and it dominates and there is a way of changing the red slider or the intensity of the color red. And if you take a photograph with red in it, look to see if it needs to be toned down, because a lot of times it does. So
Thanks, Mike. Good tip.
Interesting.
Okay. I think this is AJ's, and I don't think he's here. Correct? Hearing nothing. Okay, what do we think?
That's awesome.
well, it has to be stabilized some way, because the snowy, cottony water is the result of a long exposure, and he couldn't have handheld this.
Right.
And I don't know how long it might have been, but maybe a minute.
Oh no, I would have started at about 1/8 of a second or 1/10 of a second if I was shooting something to make this go smooth like that. That would be my guess, but I don't know. Let's have a look. See if we've got it. Oh, 2.5 seconds.
I'm having trouble distinguishing what's on the top there.
Mhm.
It's this is in Farrington Village. It's between the ponds.
No, it's not that. It's just in the picture. The bottom
Yeah.
part is so clear. And then the top part is clear in a way, but also I can't read the top of the picture very well.
Right. It almost looks like a composite.
Yes.
It looks like a picture that he ran through Prisma. You know, they have all the different styles in there. It looks like some of that. At the upper part is a reflection above the little waterfall.
Right. It's strange to me that like the rock on the right is so, on the upper right is so clear, and then next to it is the reflected water. I mean, it just doesn't look real or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
I like the
another-
bottom part a lot.
Yeah, that dividing line makes it look like it can't be the same body of water.
Right.
And you couldn't do that with focus or with depth of field, because it would be more gradual than that. But it's just so, the line is just so sharp.
Right.
It looks like there's some flotsam there that's congregated and caused that rippling, additional rippling beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be too.
I like it. I like that you can't make sense out of it.
Well, if that's what he was going for, it's very successful.
Yeah, and I mean, I think,
And no,
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Leslie.
well, I was just going to say, I like it too. It's just, it makes me look at it very closely. Because
Yes,
I can't
yes,
read it
yes.
well at first.
Yes.
I think I would like to have AJ here because I would like to know about the intent. Because to my eye, this is too sharp. It's over sharpened and over processed, but it depends on the intent. So for me, this, you know, I usually expect to see something like this with a natural look, and this has a heavily processed look. Now again,
Okay, so maybe this was his intent, that you can
Yeah, and
step
that's-
on the rock in reality, go over the waterfall and get into fantasy.
right.
Yeah.
So that's the question. Intent becomes important here because, you know, this is a very subjective medium. So yeah, okay, good feedback.
Kind of like those photographs that Bill has done where the ocean in the foreground is out of focus and it blends off gently into very focused background.
Okay, cool.
Moving water is great for tripod long exposure shots because it really changes the whole nature of that medium. I mean, what it looks like is so different and ethereal with that long exposure.
Yeah. Oh, it is AJ's, of course. It's got it up at the top now. See, I just pay attention, Graham. Okay.
Ooh, nice.
This is what I call my failure. Bill Colton loves to tell people that they should know their camera. And I completely failed on this photograph because I didn't know my camera. I did this just a matter of about 6:30 last night. I waited until the very end to try to come up with something to send Graham. And what my idea was to do some focus stacking. And because I was in a rush and I didn't prepare, I did a first set of photographs. I took about 22 different images, and I focused on different parts of the flower. And so that what I would then have is put it into a focus stacking program, and the entire photograph was supposed to be tack sharp from the very ends of these little things sticking out, whatever they're called,
Damon.
stamens, to the flowers. You know, the edges were supposed to be tack sharp, but I just absolutely failed. I mean, the first time I took the 22 photographs, I decided to manually focus to try to get those stamens just right. And then when I started doing the rest of the flower, I thought I was using autofocus, and I wasn't. So it was one of these ripple effects that I absolutely failed one thing after another thing. And you know, what I like to do is bring failures up.
Yeah, you make me feel so much better.
To make people understand that really learning the camera and staying focused on it is important, and I didn't. This is something fairly new to me, the focus stacking. So it's not something that I should have known. But, I just made one mistake after another. So
What about that it's a knockout photograph?
it's not. It's a horrible
I
photograph.
think it's beautiful. I love the angle of the
Yeah.
angles, the way it's
Yeah.
the way the angles are moving from the lower right to the upper left is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and Bill, I echo what Tom just said. That when I was teaching public speaking long ago and far away in another lifetime, one of the guidelines is never apologize for anything. Like I have a cold, I'm whatever, because you only draw attention to it. If you kept your mouth shut, nobody had noticed. And I think this is one. I'm looking at it, and I think it's a nice photo.
Yeah.
And, if you
Okay to it.
or at least keep your mouth shut until we have a chance to react to it, and then decide whether you're going to tell us what really happened. But it's
Lovely, it's lovely.
I think it's a lovely picture.
Yeah.
For what
Well, but
my
how did you?
intent was. Go on, Tom.
How did I want to know? Technically speaking, I see what you're going at, and I see why you're being critical of yourself. But how did you divide it into 22? Did you say levels of?
22 different images. Yeah.
So how do you mentally speaking, how do you go through and decide that there are 22, and what did you use for the varying?
22 was completely
Arbitrary.
arbitrary. I mean, what I was trying to do was, when I looked at it, that top leaf, I figured I needed at least 2 photographs there. And the one that goes off to the left, it's longer. I just chose that, maybe there's supposed to be 4 taken there. And I tried to do it based on what I saw on that particular part of the flower. If it was deeper, I would want to take more photographs so I could take some that were in the crevices so that those would be sharp.
Yeah.
When I put it in affinity and did the focus stacking, that it would choose the sharpest spots. Now the stamens, actually, the very tips of them came out fairly decent, not perfect. I found out that I really had to get away from the autofocus and go to manual focus.
Yeah.
And then on the D850 now, they have something called focus peaking, where you can actually choose a color, and when you turn your focusing ring, it will show you everything that is in focus.
Oh, cool.
So even if you can't really capture it with your eyes, this focus peaking within the camera will show you what's in focus and not. So I've got a lot of practice to do.
Yeah. I have a question about the flower there. Let's see. The top petal, to the right of the top petal, there seems to be some white dots.
Yeah,
Is that part of the processing? Is that left over
No.
from the processing?
no, I think that was something.
And also, up in the upper right-hand corner, there seems to be like a shadow on that petal. Is that also part of the processing? I mean, not a shadow, but a, what do you call it?
Ghost.
Ghost, thank you. Couldn't think of the word. Actually, didn't know the word to use.
There were the like green leaves that were a part of the whole branch that I pulled off the tree in the backyard.
That's what the white dots are?
Excuse me?
That's what the white dots are? in the
No,
pic-
I don't know what the white dots are.
Okay. Do you see them though?
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it, that area at 200%, and I've concluded it's pollen falling.
Ah, okay. Sounds good to me.
So
Or it may have captured the pollen or so. It might be just built there. Yeah.
Okay.
Bill, do you want some feedback on process?
Excuse me?
Do you want some feedback on focus stacking process?
Absolutely.
So here's the first thing. Even when you do lots of photos, it's possible not to get a good result. So the way I work in general is I want to think about how much I've got that I want to get sharp from A to B. And then the other thing that you can't progress without knowing is how much depth of field do you have at the magnification that you're running. And then you really want a third overlap from each. So if that's 1, 2, 3 images, you want an overlap here where only this third, the middle third, is effectively what you're going to use. The other third's going to come from here and the other third from here. So if you know that total distance and you know how much depth of field you have and divide that by a third, that's roughly the number of steps you need to take or images you need to take. And then, you know, how you get through them is up to you, manual focusing or auto focusing in small steps. It's tough to do. It's really hard to do this stuff. So I wouldn't be too.
Pretty similar to like doing panoramas where you want that third overlap, just so you have enough data to bring it together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And
Cool.
plus what the A50 does, it also does it for you if you want it to. And it will take up to 300 images.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And you can tell it there's about a width. And I think if you give it a small number, it moves over in small increments.
Right.
And if you're, say, doing a landscape, you really don't need a lot of photographs. You just need enough to capture your foreground, midground, and background. So it kind of does it for you. But I don't want 300 of them.
Hey, Bill, did you say you did this in Affinity?
Yeah,
So do you have the workbook?
no.
Okay. There's a section in the workbook called focus stacking. Is this making any sense? Is this image making any sense on the? I can't see it.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
This is the section, and that's the example, and it goes through step by step how to create that particular thing, and you can download this image and then go through it step by step as they instruct you to do in the next 6 or 8 pages. Does that make sense?
Has that been a good workbook for you?
Yeah, it's terrific. You'll learn a whole lot by the time you're finished. And again, it's a workbook, so it's project oriented rather than just a textbook.
Good, I'll get one.
Yeah, it's kind of pricey. It costs $40, and I would love to loan this to you so you could decide whether or not you wanted to get it. But I'm really anxious to try this this project. And as I said, you can download the image and then go through literally duplicating the project that they explain in the book.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Bill. I think there's a lot of good learning from what you're sharing. So I certainly appreciate you doing that. Let's have a look. Okay. Now I think this is, I can't remember whose this is. Anybody laying claim?
Another lovely shot.
Might be Susan. Who is it that takes always iPhone? Is it Beth? I can't remember. It's one of the iPhone people. But yeah, what do we think?
The dew on the petals is just incredible.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Is it in this group or something that I read that people take a little spray bottle with them and spray the plant and then
Yeah.
take
Oh, yeah.
because that's a lot
Absolutely.
easier. It's a lot easier than waking up in the middle of the night trying to get these things at 7 in the morning. But I was just thinking of that. It's nice macro work.
I think you're right, Larry, because the the individual dots are smaller than dew usually is, whereas if this was atomized out there, it might be explained why those dots are so small. Beautiful.
And if the highlight's any indication, the sun's up in the left-hand corner.
Mm.
I think
Good
it's
shot, though.
exquisite. I'd frame that one if it were mine.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I found that the iPhone does an amazing job with HDR as well as the very close details. It's amazing technology.
Mm.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, nicely done. Okay, who's laying claim?
Right. So that's, I guess everybody who lives in Farrington knows what that is. And so the tripod was all the way back on the other side of the little lake that's right there at Camden, that small little pond. And I was trying out this new lens that I had purchased. So I felt, well, you know, it's a tripod. You knew it was a long way off, so you knew you had to have a tripod there. I just try to line everything up from the fence to the top of the, which you can't really see, the grain storage facility. So
Cool.
Now, Larry, did you turn your stabilization off?
no.
Because I get a sense on a silo, all the verticals and the horizontals aren't really sharp. And the one thing, if you leave the stabilization on when you're on a tripod, and I even did that, I think that was our first tips and tricks.
Yeah.
When I showed the picture of the sign in Farrington on a tripod with the stabilization on and off. And I think maybe you should keep that in mind when you're on a tripod, is to turn that stabilization off.
Yeah, I don't think that's the issue here, Bill, because if you look at the tree is sharp. I think it's the focus point. So to
Well,
me,
the silo to me seems to be angled just slightly to the left.
we were just going to talk about the Mark Herbath effect on the silo. Yeah, I agree with you, Leslie.
That's a good point.
Definitely. But to me, Larry, do you know where you're focused?
I was trying to get the silo.
Okay, but look, when I look at this on my screen, the fence and the tree are, the tree certainly is sharp, much sharper than the silo. So my guess is, if you were using focus points, it picked up on something other than the silo. And if it's a long lens, of course, your depth of field is fairly shallow.
Right.
So that would be my guess. I would try it again. And stop pandering to Mark, please.
I did post-processing. I changed the degree of 1 degree plus to 1 degree minus, and this was the best shot that I had. I couldn't get it. Yeah, I mean, if I did -1 or +1, it really made it up, obviously at balance. So,
Are you rotating the whole image, you're saying?
yes,
Can you just rotate part of an image?
I don't know how to do that.
That's
No,
fine.
I'm just wondering if you can. It's a question that I don't know the answer to. I mean, in post-processing, can you rotate just part of an image?
Yes, but it's a lot of work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you have to mask everything else out. And Larry, that you talk about even numbers of tilting. And I don't know what program you're using, but if one either way is too much, Photoshop Elements lets you do it in percentages. You can do it a 0.25. But putting that grid on, I guess Graham just did that, putting that grid on and then rotating it based on that. Yeah, that's vertical.
Yeah, I do it by eye, and most of the time, I mean, I rarely care what the number is. I care what it looks like. So what are you using for post-processing, Larry?
Oh, I was just using what's in this this laptop.
Okay.
It's just Microsoft stuff.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's the change I would make. But I would think about the focus points. I like the image, by the way. I mean, we've talked a lot about technique, but I actually like the image. I like the framing, and to me, it works quite well.
And when we're on a tripod too, making sure that we use depending on the effect that you want, a higher f-stop if you want more in focus, because you can, since you're on a tripod, you can sacrifice the shutter speed,
Yeah.
So you have a lot of latitude to be able to go up to f11, f16, and get a lot of depth of field in there.
Yeah. I took a number of these, and this was the best that came out. But you're right, I could have done that. I was just so happy to get a shady spot. I shot that in the pond has one tree next to it, and that was in shade. So I said, this is good, because otherwise I couldn't see what I took in the screen. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I was going for the shady spot, and but I appreciate what you said,
Looks
Bill.
cool to
Thanks.
me. Keep at it. Good work.
Hey, Bill, could you explain one more time why you need to turn off stabilization on a tripod?
Well, sometimes happens if you're on a tripod, it's so still, but your image stabilization will still continue to kind of hunt a little bit. And if you put that shutter at the wrong time, it's going to look like it's an out of focus picture. And back when I did the tips and tricks, I went to the village and I took a picture of a sign showing, where Dovecote was, where Belty. I took the picture and I looked at it in my LCD after I took it, and I says, wait a minute, this is autofocus. This was on a tripod and it looked like out of focus. And then I remembered and I shut the stabilization off, took the exact same picture, and it was absolutely tack sharp. So yeah, gotta watch out for that. A lot of times when you hear photographers talk about long exposures and things like that, just about any time it's on a tripod, they often say turn that stabilization off.
What about for the lens? Does the lens stabilization have to be on or off?
Well, in things like the Nikons and the Canons generally, but when you come to, I think some of the Sonys, I think, isn't it in the body?
No, Canon and Nikon lens.
It's in the lens. For my Sony, it's in the lens.
My Canon's on the lens.
Yeah, but I think there's some Sonys now that it's body stabilization, but it makes no difference. You got to turn it off.
Well, I think you should, this is one where take a look at your manual, because some of them detect when they're on a tripod nowadays.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think so.
check your manual first and foremost. And if it doesn't automatically detect that it's on a tripod, then sure, turn it off. It does make a difference. Cool.
Yeah, that was
I don't
wow.
know why this one has done this. Come on. Why is it doing this to me? Hang on. Go away. Fit. Why is it doing this?
I sent it in a large, maybe.
No, when I look at it the, oops, in this, oh,
No,
that's not what you sent me. That's not what I was looking at this morning.
no, it's a long, a rectangle, long, narrow,
Oh,
huh.
I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know
Well,
what
I sort of like it like that.
It's looking in the right way.
Yeah.
no, you need to see the whole image. It's an impressive image.
Oh, I'm sure.
How is it doing here? I don't. Oh.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I know what's. Oh,
That's an amazing photograph.
look at this little thing down here. This is, if you're a Lightroom user, this is the gotcha of all gotchas. Auto sync is on and all the images are selected. So what I did to Larry's image, it's now done to all of them.
Oh,
You got to be really careful with it. It's the sneakiest thing. I have done so much damage with that. It's a great tool, but boy, you can mess things up real quick. Anyway,
This is a great photograph, Betty.
This is
It's unbelievable.
thank you.
Tell me about how you got it.
Well, again, I listened to all the conversation about the tripod. And so I did, drag out my Benro aluminum travel tripod and set it all up and everything, and I tried to use it. And of course, I missed every shot because by the time I got everything in place that I wanted, the bird was over in another window and I couldn't get to it. So I guess what my comments on stabilization at the moment are, what I really learned was it really depends on what you're taking. I mean, if you've got a more stable image that you're trying to make, then I really like the tripod. And actually, I have a picture in the next one that shows something about the setup that I was using there. But this kind of stuff, I find, I'm looking out windows. I don't usually sit in one place for a long period of time. I just go about, what I'm doing. And then when I see something, I grab my camera. If I see a situation starting to develop, like there's two bluebirds out and they're looking like they're getting ready to do some interesting stuff or something. And then I rely on, body stabilization. Like this one, I just got very close to the window because I still am using Windows, and put my elbow on the window to stabilize it. And then of course, if I'm sitting anywhere near the dining room table, which is also back there, I'll sit on the corner of the table, whatever, thing that I can find, because I'm more focused on just trying to grab that moment than, but of course, then it has to be reasonably sharp too.
So how far away from the window were these birds, the fence or whatever it is that they're sitting on?
Let's see, they're kind of in the middle of our yard. I'm not good at distances that way. I'd say, what, 30, 40 feet?
Okay, so you're doing it with a
Long
telephoto?
I'm using a 300 millimeter that translates 450 because it's a cropped sensor. So this is basically a 450 millimeter, and this is a crop,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the reason that I was asking is that, whenever I've tried to take pictures through windows of birds, I scare them away.
Exactly. Well, the other thing, though, that was kind of nice about the tripod, and I can show you that in the next thing. The other good thing about this, though, too, is because where this is set up is in the middle of the yard. So with the lens, it's easy to blur out the background when I take that, because that's the other thing I found, trying to find, if I'm trying to get focus on the birds and that kind of thing, is have to get rid of the background because it's usually so distracting and you don't have much choice. You can't say to the bird, well, move over there, would you please? You're in the wrong place. So let's see the next picture.
Well, I just want to make a comment on this one first, though, Betty. So I you're shooting in extreme conditions, and I think you're getting great images. And to me, there's two things about this image that really trump everything. If any of you know a photographer called Jay Maisel out in New York, study his work, and he talks about color and gesture. And this, I think, is a perfect example of gesture and color trumping everything else.
Yes.
I mean, that's what struck me when I saw it. From a technical standpoint, I think it could be improved, but the gesture and the color are just spectacular, and it trumps everything. So when I saw this one, I went, wow, and I think the fact that you've chosen to make it a panorama is perfect. I think it's an excellent image. I really like it. Now, the challenge is you should get yourself a longer lens.
I know. I mean, every time I say, I've got to get a 600. And then I think I cannot lug a 600 around. I just can't. I don't want to. I'm getting too old for this. I have to, and then I have to get then I say, well, shoot, if I had, because I did the post-processing in JPEG. I took it in RAW and JPEG. But I've been doing the post-processing largely, with the JPEG, because then I have to email it. And I haven't been very good at trying to figure out how I don't know how to send you a raw picture.
Well, you shouldn't.
Or whatever.
There is no such thing as a raw picture, but you can export a JPEG as a result of having processed your raw image. And I would encourage you to do that. I think you would get a little bit more out of your pictures. I would love to see a little bit more sharpness in this.
Yeah.
And
how does that work? I mean, can I post process it in RAW and then turn it back in JPEG to send it to you? Or
and Betty, the answer is save as. If you're using Elements, it's save as.
Yes.
Which program are you using, Betty?
I'm using photos. Occasionally I will go to do something in Elements, but mostly I'm just using photos, on the Apple.
Okay, so I think it's export in there, as Mike says. Oh, you're a Photos user, Mike?
I think it's, it's about as good as I could get on photos. I probably could do better. I mean, I could do better maybe. You're saying, what did you say about being able to, once you have a photo in RAW, then if you want to send it, or are you saying no, it'll transfer it back to JPEG and it'll still keep the changes from?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You save it. You save your work after you move from a raw photo to a manipulated photo based on raw, and you can save that as a TIFF, or you can save it as a JPEG and then export it or save it as. But if even when you have processed it from a raw photo, you have to save that, and that's one place you can save it as a TIFF, because with TIFF you say there's more data if you want to play with it anymore, and if you save it as a JPEG, you lose something. But there are just look for what your options are once you are ready to leave whatever it is you do in RAW. My workflow, and I think Graham's is much more, well, I know his is much more elevated than mine, but I just convert a raw photo into a TIFF. I don't mess with the raw photo except for maybe color balance, or whether it was daylight or shady, etc. I do all of the manipulation of highlights, shadows, etc. once I have moved out of a raw converter. And when you leave the raw converter, save it as a TIFF. do your manipulation, save it once you've done the manipulation on the TIFF. And then immediately you can do a save as, and then look for the JPEG option. I do that all the time. The stuff that I post online or that I'm sending in an email is a TIFF photo that I have saved as a JPEG. And then you have both.
Okay.
When you
thank
leave
you.
raw,
I know that.
when you leave raw, don't save it as anything other than a TIFF,
Oh,
because you can continue to work on it as a TIFF.
okay.
So I'm going to build on that. We'll talk a lot about this next week. But
Oh.
the thing to bear in mind is raw is not real. There's nothing there. It's like having an undeveloped negative. You have to bake it, as I said. I'll talk in a lot more detail
Okay,
about.
I didn't know what a TIFF was. I mean, I see it all the time, but I didn't know what it was. So of course I'd never used it. Good. I'm glad we can do it next time. We're
We'll
talking
talk a
about
little about that next week. But
Yeah.
and I'll build on what Mike's saying. I have a slightly different one, and I'll explain why next week. Cool.
Just to be clear though, you were saying that you were converting it or saving it again as JPEG. It sounded like you're starting with the JPEG somehow and then going to RAW and then to JPEG, which doesn't really compute. So just for clarity, you're taking your picture from RAW to JPEG then. Is that more accurate?
Well, and again, I think Graham is.
No,
gonna talk
I'm
about this
asking.
next-
No, I'm asking Betty.
Oh, okay.
I can use RAW or JPEG when I'm doing the post-processing. It gives me the choice of either because I've set it on the camera to take it both for JPEG and RAW. But then, and the way photos is set up, they've got a lot of this, where it's easy to move around between the different formats. I just didn't know what all the TIFF or PNG or all that was. So I pretty much ended up either, for my purposes, if I know I'm not sending it, I will use the RAW to manipulate post-processing. But if I know I have to send it, then I didn't think I could save the changes that I made in RAW, send it. So I always end up just doing it in JPEG to simplify the whole process because because Gmail will let me send, it's RAW is too big, a RAW for my Gmail to send it to anyone.
Well, and
I don't understand all of that. That'd be great if we can address some of that maybe next week, because it's a real limitation to if you don't know how to do that stuff.
Because in general, you can't save a raw file. Most of the proprietary formats won't allow you to overwrite. And if you think about it as an undeveloped film, what you're doing is really doing the developing. And then the developing process, I talk about recipes a lot, that we're really doing a recipe to make something, in this case, an image. But nothing is made until we put it in the oven and bake it. And what I mean by baking it is all the changes that you've made are not permanent until you bake it in some way. And the two big ways to do that are, one is export it either to a JPEG, to a TIFF or whatever, or the other big one is to print it. And then that's fixed. When you've pushed them out there, that's a fixed thing. Now, you can go and edit JPEGs, but again, I'll show you some stuff next week that I think will horrify you, and it'll stop you using editing in JPEG forever. Anyway, good. Okay, we'll come back to that. I do want to move on because I'm conscious that talking, oh, bugger. Sorry, that's a British technical term. Come here. Now, what have I done? You guys have serious thoughts about whether I should be teaching next week. Let me go. Come on. G. There we go. Okay. See what it's done? It's selected all of those now. Okay. Oh my God, we've got a lot to go. Okay, we're going to move on.
Okay, I'll just make this quick.
Betty.
this is the setup that I use, and people were saying, oh, you take through the window. And of course, right now, taking with all the pollen, it really, all my pictures are slightly green. So, but other than that, that's how I set it up. And the thing that I learned for those who are still trying to get their cameras and stuff on tripods is like this Sony one, the 7300, which is a great lens, but it did not have any collar or anything to attach to the tripod. I mean, I always, when I was using shorter ones, you know, you just stuck the camera and the lens and everything, slid it into the shoe on the tripod, tightened it up, and that was it. And then I got this lens and didn't realize until after I bought it and liked it and everything that you know, if I put it on the tripod, the whole lens is so heavy for the little camera that it just pulls forward, and that there has to be something to hold it up. And you can, I don't know if you can see that the fact, you know, what a collar is, but if anybody gets to the point where you're trying to use a longer lens and you want to put it on the tripod and it doesn't automatically have a collar that came with it to help you do that, you can still, I did go to, you know, I don't remember, through Amazon or whatever else, and just bought an over-the-counter kind of generic collar, and it did fit this and it works just fine and everything else. But it was a real hassle in the beginning because I didn't, you know, understand about how longer lens have to be stabilized on the tripod to make it work, especially if you're using a small body like the mirrorless cameras.
Cool. Good advice. Thank you, Betty. I'm going to move on. I didn't realize I was talking so much. And where are we going here? I have really done a good job of, there we go. Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
Do we have an owner for this one? Anybody laying claim?
Sorry, I muted myself. And I started talking and nobody was reacting, so I'll start again. This is mine. And this was actually taken for the triangle challenge, but I didn't get the photograph in fast enough. So I thought I would just plop it in this time. Because I can't use my right hand, at most of everything that I do is with a tripod and an iPhone.
Oh, right.
So this was tripod and iPhone.
Cool.
And I sort of like the picture, so there you have it. I fiddled around a lot with the cloth on the top, taking it off, having more show. But I really liked the way the angles in this one came out. And there were, you know, lots of sort of triangular kinds of shapes that came out of it. So I would welcome any feedback. It's not post-processed at all.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it's lovely, lovely.
Very interesting. But
I
this.
think I think the cloth is being used as a light diffuser, and that's the benefit you get from that.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that you've diffused the light in such a way that the exposure is more even across the rest of the frame, and that it can now be cropped out. And if you cropped it out, you would still get that quarter moon shaped shadow that is part of the other light that's hitting the curtain, but it doesn't, it gets rid of the curtain as a distraction.
Oh, you think it's a distraction?
Oh,
I do. I think it serves a purpose in terms of diffusing the light.
I like it.
It's my idea.
Yeah.
It'd be very different picture, which would be nice too without it. But the fact that it's there, I like. It really makes the picture interesting and kind of special. And all the, you know, everything else is very linear.
Right.
To me, It really works. I like
Well,
that.
Betty, I agree with you.
Okay, well,
I mean, the
So
other
do
thing-
I.
all right, Mike, we're 2 against 1 here.
so the other thing about
We
the
have a
fabric,
gender war here.
okay. So the other thing about the fabric on the top is that if I cut it out, then I'm cutting out the top of the shelf there. And then you don't really have any sort of context of how big anything is or how big the shelf is or anything else. So I really like, I purposely wanted the cloth there for that reason.
It also softens the image somehow and keeps it,
Texture.
yeah, texture. Also.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all your great feedback. I love hearing how other people interpret things. I mean, I never would have thought of cutting that off because I never would have thought of the cloth being used as a light diffuser, but it absolutely is. And
Well,
And
Leslie, I really like the fact that your verticals are vertical.
thank you. I was wondering if somebody would say that.
I think you need lessons from Mark. Okay, nicely done.
But you can see why I used it for triangles, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Wow.
So this also is mine. And when I first heard the challenge, I thought that it was about supporting something, so, like books are supporting each other in a stack or something like that. And it wasn't until I'd already thought of a picture that I realized that it meant supporting the camera like a tripod or something like that, which I use all the time anyway. So I had these 2 figurines that have been holding up my house for the last couple of years. And I moved them into the rock garden to have them hold up the rocks. So that's my
That's
support.
cool.
Yeah, I like that. It's a beautiful image.
But there's no post-processing because I'd asked Bill to send me, sorry, I completely just lost my train of thought. I emailed Bill yesterday about a post-processing program that I might use on my iPad. And when I opened it up to try to do something, I realized that things have changed a whole lot since the last time I did any post-processing, which was probably 15 years ago. So I got completely overwhelmed and went out and tried to take a picture that I didn't really have to post-process. But I know Graham is going to say that, there's too much white space up at the top.
No, that
But I would like any other feedback in terms of, since I'm just learning post-processing, well, I'd like feedback on everything, but especially what I might have done post-processing. It's not even cropped or anything. Does anybody, anything?
I mean,
You could send that to Graham for next
Yeah.
processing project.
oh,
that's an idea.
Yeah.
But what would you,
Are you
I mean, just quick-
saying perhaps change the so that the top, the dirt is, the ground is level?
the ground is level?
Mhm.
What do you
That's
mean, where?
At the top where you can see the it's
The horizon.
Oh, okay.
you could level that.
Yeah, everything's a little bit, yeah, because I was going by the bottom of the little statues and I thought I'd gotten it horizontal, but I was obviously looking at it now, I can see it's not. You're right. Okay.
so the question for me, Leslie, would be what do you look at?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Graham.
The question I would ask is, where is it that you want to take the viewer's eye? Because
Well, I wanted to take the viewer's eye to the statues holding up the rock, but I needed some sort of context. And I took the way that I used the tripod this time was that I have a very lightweight, flimsy iPhone tripod, and I held it upside down and rested the phone on a rock and, took the picture that way.
Right.
So it sort of, I was using the tripod upside down and backwards, sort of.
Right.
So I took, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 photographs of, close-ups of the statues, from the top, from the back, from the side. And what I realized is I really like the shape of the, from the side view of the statuettes. So I wanted a side view picture. And then this is the best one that came out. And I like the way the flowers were in there arranging it, but I would like to have the statues really jump out at you, sort of.
Right. So again, to me, the flowers are interesting, but they sort of stop me getting to the statues.
Ah, okay.
Um,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
They sort of
Yeah.
stop me.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that you could work on when you're processing chops together is, make the thing that you want the viewer to go to the sharpest.
Right.
And the statues are a little soft.
Right.
So I end up lurking down in the front of the photo rather than,
Yes.
I think, where you want me to go.
Right.
But I think you're headed in the right direction. I love that you're taking so many and with such different perspectives. I would like to have seen some of those,
Oh, anytime you want, I'll send them all to you, Graham, if you want.
send them all,
What?
but I would love to see them. I'd love to see some of those at some stage. I think,
Okay.
this is a nice straightforward shot,
Yeah.
but I like those off-kilter ones and the quirky ones. So,
Right.
but it's good.
So,
You're headed
so
in.
without any, so with, I mean, clearly the photograph could be improved, but just as it is now, what do people think about it?
All I would have done would have been changed the angle a little bit so that the trees are not going straight up and the top of the ground is not parallel.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I would have done and left it alone.
If you'd taken one step to the right, and then you could have cropped out a lot of the stuff on the very right-hand side of the photograph,
Okay.
which would,
Yeah.
and there's basically little there, and it would have put more emphasis on the sculptures.
Right. Okay.
I
So,
think.
yeah. The last question I want to ask is, does the photo, I don't know how exactly to ask this, but I mean, I tried the sculptures with lots of different things. I had them up against tree trunks. I had them, on my front porch where they were holding up the house. I had them so that they were holding an Easter egg that was dyed. And so I was just so what I want to know, I guess, is, does this convey sort of the absurdity of it? These little statues holding
Totally.
up something.
I love the idea of it, but I can't. It took me so long to figure out. I'm looking at this, by the way, on a 13-inch MacBook Air, and it's tiny, and I couldn't tell what they were.
Right.
But when I finally figured it out, it's like, oh my God, they're holding up the rocks, they're holding up the universe, and they're Charles Atlas, and they're down on their knees. I love the sculptures, and but I would like to see them.
There were actually bookends that I never used as bookends. All right. Well, thanks. I wanted to know if my concept was getting across using the rock garden, and it sounds like it was. So thank you for that feedback.
Yes.
Perfectly natural. I was surprised when you said you took them outside from the house. They look so right there.
No, I wasn't in the house.
No.
Did you think I took them inside the house?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not being clear. When you said at the start of your conversation that these were from your house and you took them outside.
Oh.
I'm saying that they look so natural there that it was a surprise to me that this was something that wasn't there all the time.
Right.
No, they've been for the last couple of years, they've been holding up a bench on my front porch.
There you go. Very good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you. I learned a lot from that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh boy, pollen.
Wow.
That's mine. It is an out of focus picture of pollen in the creek, but I just liked it. It was another one of my accidents.
Very nice.
I could not get it any clearer I was just using Windows and I couldn't do much with it, but I just threw it out there because it was interesting.
No, and Helen, again, don't pollute the image in our mind. I look at it and I think that's a really cool abstract,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which I'm sure is what you're going for, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought when I, yeah. But for people who like clarity, that's not it, but I just thought it was a cool abstract when I cropped
It
way
is.
down on
It's
it.
very cool.
Yeah.
You have a good eye.
Did you use a tripod?
Yes, we were standing on a creek bank. You'll see where we were in the next picture.
Okay. Oh, no,
Well-
the next picture you want.
Okay, maybe the next one. The
Standing
next
on
one's a bunch of roots. Did you get two from me?
I don't know, Helen. I probably, but they might not be in order.
Okay.
Anybody
There. Wow.
That's mine.
laying claim to this egg?
That's mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
No, I'm going to move on then because we're tight on time. And
No, no, somebody's.
Okay.
Lynn has it. Lynn.
Who is it?
So I tried taking it with my,
Oh,
There
Lynn.
we are.
It's
Yeah.
Lynn. Okay.
so I took it with my phone because I don't have the proper lens for my camera to do this. So I set the phone on the countertop to have it stabilize, and
Yeah.
I don't know why I sent you the two of them. They're pretty much the same.
I thought it was quite exciting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, and I hear how you stabilize the phone. How the heck did you stabilize the egg?
The egg. That's what I want to know.
Salt.
Ah,
Salt?
Salt.
Really?
My grandson had done this, and so I texted him and say, "How did you do that?" So you just pour salt and you put the
Yeah.
egg on it, and then you blow away
Blow
the salt that's
yeah.
visible.
Really? That's a fantastic technique.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
brilliant.
That's great. I like that. I love the sharpness and the definition on these, and you can see the plane of focus. I mean, look at, I'm using my finger. You can't see that. Look at the plane of focus here, and then how it fades again in front and
Yeah.
behind. I mean,
It was with the portrait thing on the new Apple phone.
Yeah.
So
Got to get it.
it's a fabulous image. I mean, from a phone, it's like, whoa. And then number
But
two.
Graham, don't you think it's tipped slightly?
Well,
It's just a grain off. It's just a grain off.
they talk about the Ken
One of
Burns effect in pictures. I think we should have the Mark Herbuth effect.
So one of them is in the center and the other one is off center. I didn't know which was better.
I think this one, because you have both the shadow at the bottom, plus you have a reflection.
Right.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice the reflection. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, down in.
Oh, I see it. It took me a while to see the reflection too.
Oh.
I think you can rest happily. And that is a fabulous phone. I mean, just the images that it produces blow me away. And I've had my phone for 3 years now, so maybe.
Time for a new one.
But I keep saying I don't need more things in life. Okay, good job, Lynn.
Thank you.
Who?
Okay, that is mine, and that's where I was standing across the creek looking at that, and then I looked down underneath, and that's where the eddy was, and that's where I got the pollen.
Is he your boyfriend, Eddie? Sorry, let me know.
It's a really good black and white.
I like
Yeah,
it.
it's great. Like I said, you've got a good eye, Helen.
Thank you.
I like it. Works well. Okay, how are we doing? I think that might be it. I think you might be the last
Excellent.
picture for the day, Helen.
Okay.
Is that right? Oh, come on, now it's not responding to me. I'm having an odd morning. Okay, now. Oh, there we go. Try using the right key, Graham. Cool. Thank you, folks. What a fabulous selection of images. I think we talked a lot about these images. We didn't have that as many as we've had some.
Yeah.
And yet we did a lot of talking about each image. So thanks for that, folks.
Well, I know
have one-
we're over time. I know we're over time, but let me say one other thing that hasn't been mentioned about stabilization. Use a remote release.
Yes.
If you have something on a tripod and you touch the camera, you're going to move it. As stable as it is, you're going to move it. And you can either get a corded release or you can get one that is radio frequency. But cheap thing, some of the cameras actually come with them. Or you can set it on timer
That's
if you don't have a
Yeah.
remote release. So good meeting
have-
you guys. Thank you.
Okay, wait, I have one
Yeah.
question,
Leslie?
please. Since, let's see, Bill suggested a particular post-processing program, the name of which I think was Speed something or other. I'm just wondering if anybody
Snapseed.
knows of what program would be good to use on my picture for an iPad. Does anybody have any suggestions? And if not, that's fine. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I don't want to take up more time. I know we're over, but
You can get Affinity for iPad.
okay, thank you. That's what I needed to
And
know.
I think there's a Photoshop Elements for iPad, iPhone. I don't know for a fact, but
Okay,
Lightroom 2 is available if you know, the
okay,
challenge here is knowing which one would work best for you. And that's a
right,
thing, yeah. So I think most of them are available now.
okay,
Some of the cheap and cheerful ones, I think, you know, I'd be a little cautious of. Try the free version first.
mhm,
If it works for you.
okay. All right, I
Yes,
don't want to take up
snaps.
any more time. I just, what?
Yeah, Snapseed was the one that I had suggested.
Yes, Snapseed, sorry. Yeah,
Yes, that seems
Yes,
pretty
it was in
popular
it.
right now and it's free, so.
yeah.
There you go.
I was just overwhelmed by all the choices in it. So, I mean, I'm going to try that, Bill, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, that's it. I'm muting myself and leaving.
You all early in the morning.
Excellent meeting.
All right. See
yep.
you.
Good job, guys.
30.
Thank you
Thank you.
all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget, if you want to join Helen and me tomorrow morning to meet at, what did I say, 7:15?
7:30.
7:30 in front of the, around McIntyre somewhere.
Okay. Bye. Folks.
Okay, bye.
Good.